Hey out there. Figured I'd do another walk and talk video. It's been a while since I've done this, but I have some things on my mind just about the climate that we're in, socially and politically and whatnot. I've talked about these sorts of things a few times in the past. This isn't specifically related to fitness or anything, though I'm sure you can apply it to that or any particular industry that you may operate in. A lot of people are really angry about certain laws that are getting passed, certain funding cuts to specific areas, and a lot of people are worried about the future. I mean, look at the shirt I happen to be wearing right now is my March for Science shirt. I'm certainly worried too about the future and about where we are going to be in terms of research and education, culture, even the arts, the humanities. From an academic point of view, where are we going to be in a few years? Many people say, oh, it's going to be fine, this too shall pass, and maybe that's true. Maybe it will pass. But I don't know that that's necessarily true. Particularly if we don't work really hard. Now, you may or may not be able to convince your congressman, your senator, to vote a certain way on an upcoming bill. You may or may not be able to pressure certain members of your local government to appropriate funds for education or for a local housing project or whatever the case may be, whatever the issue is that you're dealing with locally. But regardless, we do have to work. And I'm seeing a lot of situations where maybe industry regulations are getting cut, or certain allowances are starting to be made for whether it's businesses to operate in less clean ways, or for us not to have to worry about providing information publicly. For example, some of the stuff that got removed from, I think, the EPA's website and such. And these are very alarming. We, individually and in groups as we can organize, I think are going to have to be a big part of the change that we want to see. And by change, in this case, I mean just going back to the way things were before a lot of the recent changes. And I'm not trying to make any major political points and bash on anyone in particular, but it occurs to me that this may be a battle that has to be won on individual fronts. So I keep speaking in vagaries. What do I mean? Well, if you've got spare time, try to help spread information to the people in your area. I'm lucky in that I have access to students a lot and university resources. I try to educate in what small capacity I can, more than is necessary, more than is required by my job. I archive information constantly, whether it's research articles, environmental data, what have you. And I feel that for those of us who really care about the future, again, the future of us, not just as a country here in America, but as a species, as a global society, as a civilization, each and every one of us is going to have to do what work we can to preserve things. There may not be a structure in place to provide the things that we think should be provided for our fellow humans. There may not be, whether it's a large bank of funding for research or a centralized location for information on a particular topic. We may have to take it upon ourselves individually to preserve some of these things. It shouldn't be that way, but maybe that's how it is, or that's how it will be. Now, I hope all of these worries are unfounded. I hope that people in general can begin to see just how valuable information is, education, free, open discussion of ideas, and the proper evaluation of those ideas, the weighing and measuring of those ideas so that the good ones are preserved, are held onto, and take root, while the ones that are weak, or the ones that are lacking, the ones that are faulty, are abandoned or at least modified in a way that makes them better. So if you've watched this long, you either have nothing else to do with your time, or maybe you care about some of the same things. And if that's the case, if you actually care, then be the change that you want to be. If you want society to move in a certain direction, if you want people to value science, education, art, history, culture, these things that we need to preserve, influence people in whatever way you can in your small sphere. And then maybe one day that sphere will expand. And if enough people start doing that, then maybe we can push back this flood of anti-intellectualism, hold back the tide, at least until certain people are in power who actually have our best interests at heart. And I don't mean us, just people who work in science or people who work in education or anything like that. I mean us as a civilization, humanity overall. And this extends to the way we view each other socially. The us versus them thing, the divisiveness that is so characteristic of humans, well, that's what got us here. That's what put us in this position of having this crowbar that's been wedged in between people who are pro-science and people who don't care, or this idea that, you know, you can be pro-business or pro-whatever else. We have all these divisions and it needs to stop. So, yeah, learn to have the conversation with people, engage with people, be patient as much as you can. We're all human. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has limitless patience and energy. But we all have to do the best that we can. And hopefully, if you've watched this long and you care enough about this, to call me out if I ever overstep, or if I'm not working as hard as you think I should, or if I do something that you think is not in keeping with what I just said. That was on my mind. So, hopefully that makes some sense. Be well, keep reading, keep thinking, keep talking, and be a part of the education and exploration that we want to see. Cheers.